Hi, my name is Kelly Adolph, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of DOF Foundation. I wanted to take a few minutes today and just talk to you or share with you one of the many faces of homelessness. We here at DOF Foundation want you to walk in the shoes of someone who is homeless. How better to understand the plight of our organization than by experiencing the circumstances of those that have become homeless and the things that they deal with in trying to survive each day. If you have just a few minutes, maybe about 10 minutes, take a short listen to this podcast so you'll better understand why we do what we do and what you can do to help. Case study: Emily, single mother of 3, ages 11, 12, and 15. Emily started her life out like many of us in this country. One of 4 siblings, she knew the importance of education, family, and work. As she went through her adolescence, she knew the path to success and stability, and she traveled this path without wavering even slightly. Graduating with honors, going on to college, obtaining a degree in business administration, and finding work at a company that would provide for a stable lifestyle for herself and her family. These are all the things that Emily knew and worked towards on a day-to-day basis. Deciding to become a mother was a joy to her, even without a spouse. And although single parenting is scrutinized, she knew she'd be a success because of the lessons she learned growing up on what is needed to provide stability for one's family. This is what she did for many years. In addition to providing for the needs and desires of her own family, she was the savior for many others that came across her life in their time of need. She often stated that being in a position to help others was all the reward she ever needed in life. Now let's fast forward to 2 months after her 15-year anniversary on her job. The economy is failing drastically. She witnesses cuts from every end within her company and even her department, watching the faces of many who simply do not know what will happen to them next, sadly wishing there was something she could do to help. For a year, she watched old co-workers and friends walk out the door, never to return, until the day she looked up and became the next victim of the economic downfall. Always a positive thinker, she didn't worry. She had a small nest egg saved, and she knew that her skills and work ethic would land her another job in no time. In the meantime, she simply collected on her unemployment benefits to survive. Emily knew that she and her family would have to make a few sacrifices. However, she had complete confidence in herself, and she knew she'd land on her feet barely scathed. What Emily didn't realize at the time is that the economic downfall was not just affecting her company, it was affecting her state and even her country. Where 15 years ago she could walk up with her qualifications and get a job in an instant, today it was not that simple. The weeks and months following Emily's departure from the company that she dedicated 15 years of her life to turned out to be surreal. Immediately following the notice of her position being terminated, she filed for unemployment benefits. In the meantime, she paid up every bill she had with the nest egg she had saved so that when unemployment came through, she'd start fresh. This depleted her bank account instantly, but Emily felt she was being smart and doing the right thing, never realizing that the company that she did work for 15 years would deny her benefits and she'd have to spend the next 6 months fighting for them. In the interim of this battle, she spent hours of each day seeking employment with no success. She was now 2 months behind in her rent. Utilities were in shut-off status. Her car needed repairs. Her kids had medical emergencies and expenses for school, and Emily had no income in sight. Thus, she did what any mother would do. She swallowed her pride and went to seek help from organizations and government agencies that she was told were in place to help the people. Every door she knocked on, every form she filled out, every appointment she waited for, every hour she spent in waiting rooms only to be told, "I'm sorry, Emily, we're completely out of funds. You're not eligible for this service because your kids are this age. You live in this area. Your rent's too high. You have not lived in a shelter for 6 months. Your education is too extensive." And the list went on. Discouraged, but still a fighter, Emily started to apply for mediocre jobs, being turned down for each of them due to overqualification. 4 months after she departed from her job, she was served with a court-ordered eviction notice, owing a great amount. Her utilities were shut off. She no longer has a telephone to call about job openings, and she barely has a way to feed her children and get them back and forth to school. Her world is crumbling. She reaches out again to family and friends, receiving the same excuse. "I'm sorry, Emily. If I had something, you know I'd give it to you. We're in hard times ourselves." Frustrated by the fact that all of these people have come to her at some point in their lives for help, and she never turned them away. With 10 days left before she was physically removed from her home, Emily went back to the welfare department and begged for help. This time she was told that her rent far exceeded what they'd be willing to pay. Thus, her options were to find someone that would be willing to cover the additional $300 a month, have them sign a notarized affidavit stating such, and they'd be able to assist her with $500. Otherwise, she'd need to move out of her home, into a shelter, reapply for assistance, and then they may be able to help her secure another home for a lesser expense. Knowing that she knew of no one that would be willing to help her monthly until she got on her feet, she called around to various shelters trying to find one that was best suited for her and her children. This process brought forth a serious burst of reality. Each shelter she called was willing to accept her and her 2 daughters, but she'd have to send her 15-year-old son to either a youth home or a shelter for men, as he could not accompany them. As if all they had recently endured wasn't enough, they were suggesting that she disregard her son, split up her family, just to receive help. This was not something that Emily was willing to do. Thus, she remained in her home until the court-appointed bailiffs came to physically throw her belongings onto the street. On one of the most miserable, cold, and rainy days, she and her 3 children stood outside and watched as everything they owned was damaged and gone forever. After some time going through their belongings and salvaging what they could, they realized all was lost. Armed with the clothes on their backs and a few things that they picked up, they pulled off in her poorly operating automobile, headed to the destination, no place to go. Emily tried to be strong for her children, but this reality had taken its toll on her spirit, her drive, her ability to even move forward. This once vibrant, successful woman was now parked in a parking lot of a 24-hour store, wondering how she'll feed her kids tonight, tomorrow night, next week, next month, even next year. She felt like a failure in life. The sadness in the eyes of her children made her want to just end it all. Emily and her kids lived in the car for 3 months, panhandling to get gas and food. Once in a while looking up on enough to get a cheesy motel room where they could have one night to relax, shower, and watch television. Each day, watching as people looked at her and her once-upon-a-time honor roll students with disgust and pity. What has the world come to, Emily thought often, when people just don't care about people, when you can rally to save the whales, the eagles, the dolphins, the cats, the dogs, but there's no one rallying to save their fellow man, someone just like them. It's easier for a stray cat to receive help than it is for a person and her children. Why do so many people think that I'm out here by choice or a bad decision? Do they truly believe that I'd make a choice or a bad decision that would cause me to live this way with my family? Why are we so hard on one another and not willing to just help, to simply stand together and lift one another up until we all reach the top? Emily spent many days, hours, and minutes pondering these thoughts as she continued to simply survive. For Emily, her break came when a volunteer of DOF Foundation talked to her at a local soup kitchen. This person did not pry. She simply listened as Emily expressed her frustration and her desires. After hearing Emily's story, this volunteer invited her to visit the DOF Foundation building. DOF helped Emily by finding a safe haven for her and her children, while they pursued various avenues to help her in a more permanent fashion. They worked with Emily to receive her unemployment. Upon receipt of this large sum due to retroactive pay, they helped Emily find affordable housing, introduced her to a job placement program, helped to get her children back in school, assisted her in obtaining a food benefit card to help feed her family monthly, and stayed connected to her through her journey back into a self-sufficient life. DOF Foundation helped Emily to pull her and her family out of the trenches. Unfortunately, unlike Emily, many women and children are in this situation don't have that break. They end up on the streets for months and years, ultimately turning to crime and/or drugs and alcohol to merely cope and survive, losing their children to the system because they aren't in a position to provide for their daily needs, giving up on life, feeling hopeless, inadequate, and very much invisible. This is one way the population of homelessness continues to grow. You see, by Emily coming into our organization and organizations like us, the moment she walked into our doors was the last time she had to sleep on the streets. We pride ourselves in doing all that is necessary to ensure that you have the help you need. We don't turn you away under any circumstances. Our organization will connect with every resource until we find one that is best suited and willing to help you. We guide you in your transition. We provide the necessary tools to allow you to regain a self-sufficient lifestyle. We here at DOF Foundation understand your circumstances. We've talked to you. We know what you need as an individual. We don't group you together to come up with a general plan to help a population that has very unique needs. We work for you. That is why it is so essential to sustain a good relationship with our communities and supporters. Without you, it would make it much harder to help someone like Emily. Without you, the story of Emily could not have a happy ending. This is but one example of the many faces of homelessness. If you'll continue to visit us, we'll introduce more each month. You can help us by advocating and donating to this cause. People and/or families just like Emily are in need of our support, and in order to provide this support, we need help from people like you. Let's stand together and do something about homelessness today. Let's make this plight so viral that the government officials have no choice but to open their eyes to the rising epidemic before us. Let's educate ourselves on what homelessness really is. We guarantee you that each of you likely knows at least one person that is homeless. What are you doing to help? Donate today. Go to www.dofoundation.net. No matter the size, your donation will help thousands of people across the country come off the streets and into a safe environment on the road to a self-sufficient lifestyle. Thank you.